Switching to a fixed fee entirely was the best move for this family law firm. Welcome to the Lawyer Millionaire, where law firm owners learn to grow their firms and their wealth. I'm your host, Darren Wurz. Tired of the billable hour grind? Imagine a law firm that scales with clarity, consistency, and client trust. That's what today's guest has built. Jeff Hughes is the founder of Sterling Lawyers, a 100% fixed fee family law firm and a pioneer in legal innovation and firm leadership. All right, we're here with Jeff Hughes. Thanks for being on the show today, Jeff.
Happy to be here, Darren. Looking forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. So you've built Sterling Lawyers, as I understand, on a fixed fee model. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. We do 100% fixed fee, just family law. That's it.
So yeah, let's talk about that for a second, and especially in the context of family law. You know, that is kind of a new thing that we're seeing in law practice. Very, very different from the traditional billable hour. What inspired that shift for you, and how has it worked so far?
Well, I didn't think it was possible, first off, and I met Lee Rosen down in I think Miami. We had to go down and pay for a day of his time. And he opened my eyes that it was possible and that it was beautiful. And the kicker was it aligned our interests with our clients' interests and our lawyers' interests. So get all three of those aligned, you can do amazing things. So that's when we got the idea for it and started moving on it. And it took us about 4 or 5 years to figure it out, but we did. So thankfully.
So when did you start implementing that model?
We implemented on February the 1st, 2016 was day one. And we went all in, we burned the ships and we're like, we're going all in. This is what we're going to do. And we did it. We didn't look back.
I love that. Okay, so let's back up for a second. We're going to learn about all of your innovations. But first, tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your firm.
Yeah, we are a family law firm based in the Milwaukee area. We have offices throughout southeastern Wisconsin, Illinois. Today, we've got around 27 lawyers, and we are 100% fixed fee and very innovative when it comes to technology and building our infrastructure. About 40 of our teammates are offshore, so they're in the Philippines, and they're amazing. And we've built a really fun firm. We're really proud of the fact that we just got top place to work. And so that's been a big deal. We're celebrating right now. And we just announced our first partner trip to Mexico next year. So we're looking forward to that too. So those are what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, very cool. That's really awesome. And you are also on a mission to help other family law attorneys. Tell us a little bit about that real quickly.
Yeah, kind of like my passion project is I have a podcast called The J. Sterling Hughes Show and a website, jsterlinghughes.com, where it's all about trying to pass on what we have learned and figured out and stumbled our toe on, screwed up on, and pass that information to family lawyers to help them build their practice. So we kind of are trying to be a lab, so to speak, for how to do it or not do it, and then share the results of that with other family lawyers to help them build their practices too.
Yeah, wonderful. That's really great. So the flat fee model, I love this because it's an innovation, and we've kind of adopted something similar in financial services. Most financial planners are compensated on a percentage of assets as a percentage of what you invest. We found that doesn't really work well for law firm owners who maybe have a variety of different kinds of investments beyond traditional stocks and bonds. So we adopted a flat fee model as well. And so, we can manage your portfolio or not. It's all included. It's just one flat fee. And we really love it because it just gives us a lot of simplicity and transparency, and it aligns the value with what the clients are getting. What was it like telling you're bringing this idea to your team? Were they ready for this, or was there a lot of pushback?
Oh, no, they were not ready in the slightest. In fact, Holly Mullen, our current managing partner, I remember going to her office and I was nervous, Darren, because she was a big deal in our firm. And I I had to go and sell her on this idea. We're going to fixed fee. And she went along with it very reluctantly, but she figured it out pretty quickly. And we kind of used her as our, our bell cow, so to speak, of like, how do we do this? We'll follow you. We'll figure it out with you. So no, they didn't love it at first. And now they just can't imagine going back. It just would be a non-starter.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest improvement that makes for your law firm?
Yeah, I've got a couple. So one is that anytime you can do something that the clients want and that that resonates with them, you have an advantage right there in just getting their attention and then getting their business. So whenever you tell them, look, you can pay me by the hour, and I don't know what it's going to be, and we're just going to send you a bill every month, and we'll find out at the end of the case what it costs you. You contrast that experience with okay, it's going to cost you this for us to handle your case all the way through. And they know that gives them security. They know what's coming. That opens up the lines of communication because they're not afraid to call you and send you a text message. They're going to get whacked with a $50 bill or something. So it makes the whole relationship just work. It takes away a ton of the friction in the relationship. So it lines the interest with the clients, which they really appreciate. Now, that's the good stuff. That's all the great stuff. The challenge is selling it, because now instead of asking for a $5,000 retainer, you might be asking for a $12,000 fee that's going to carry to a certain point in the future.
Yeah,
that's really difficult. That's a different conversation. You got to help the client understand the difference. This is apples and oranges. This is not apples to apples. So you can't compare our quote, what we gave you as a fee, to the hourly fee retainer that you just heard down the road. So that becomes a real challenge. And the second challenge, and this is even bigger than the sales challenge, that is the practice of family law is much different when it's fixed fee versus hourly. When it's fixed fee, you have to be very proactive to move the case along, or else you got mad clients who cases are extending forever and they're getting a different, more costs involved. So that's contrary to how the family law bar operates. We're very reactionary to what the judge sets as a schedule, or what the other client wants, or what our client wants in terms of speed of the case and moving it along.
But I think clients love that. As someone who's been through that process, and it took 2 years.
It's painful.
Right?
Yeah.
Speed is fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about the sales. How do you approach explaining this to clients? Is it a slide deck? Is it a chart? Is it how do you visualize
great question
it?
on that. We actually do have a chart that we show them, and it looks kind of like an oval racetrack, actually. And it's on my website. If you can go download it, we give it away for free. But it basically shows the client your case is going to have various stages to it. You basically have the settlement stage, you have the litigation stage, you have the trial stage. That's kind of the best way to put it. About half the cases conclude in that first negotiation stage, just exchanging information, reach a settlement, done. Sometimes they're not, right? You got to go and you got to litigate an aspect of your case, and then it gets you. Then 96% of cases are settled by the end of that. It's those small 4% that go into the trial stage that are very contentious and that sort of thing. So that really helps clients get a visual for what's coming. And we break it up and show this is whenever you have mediation, if you have children, and this is when you have a guardian appointed, if we need a guardian, and we kind of go through that. So that's what we use as an aid to help clients get a visual and feel and understand the difference, though.
How do you manage the fact that some cases might settle early, some may drag on and require going to court? Are they different fees? Are they all the same fee? How do you account for that?
Yeah. Well, it's taken us 8 or so years to kind of figure out how to do that the most efficiently. But the best way to describe it is we break up a divorce into 3 stages, and we let the clients know where they're at in each stage. And for those that extend on, we've got a sliding scale if it goes beyond stage 1, which is 50% of your cases resolved there. Okay. And then what we'd ask for is, that they have to pay the second stage fee, but if it settles quicker, they get some of that back. It varies. Okay. But
Yeah.
for sake of the audience, to give a visual, think of a divorce in 3 stages. We charge for the first stage up front. When we get to that second stage, if we need it, we charge for that, and we get to the third stage and so forth. The key to getting that to work, though, is the client has to see activity and movement by the lawyer right away to get that case over with. If they feel and they sense that you're dragging your heels and you're not working hard for them, then they're going to complain. But if they know you're doing everything you can, you're communicating well, it's a much
Yeah.
better experience. And then they're not so much, they get it. They don't like it. They don't like that second stage fee because it's a big one, but they
Right.
understand why that is the case.
Yeah, that's really cool. It also kind of incentivizes them to, get it resolved.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Yes. And because they're not charged for every bit of communication with us, the communication it's much better than within an hourly model. Because I've been on both sides of it, so I can contrast both.
Yeah. How do you manage these cases? Do you have the lawyer doing the communication? Do you have somebody else on the team kind of liaising with the client? How does that look like?
That's the beauty of fixed fee is now we're not charging hours for lawyers and paralegals. So we have teammates that come in and handle many aspects of the case that can be done by people who aren't lawyers.
Okay.
And so they'll do a lot of the paperwork behind the scenes, e-filing, all that sort of stuff. Most of the communication is done by the paralegal and the lawyer. And we have a lot of automated communication. We're just rolling out a client app right now. It's happening like as we speak. And that's all designed to over communicate with a client, which cuts down on their anxiety, first off, but it also cuts down on the lawyer time that's required to communicate through the case with the client.
Okay. And how do you like to communicate? Is it through a software or through an app or through email?
I think the clients drive that individually. So some of them are all text people. Some of them, I don't even have I don't know what a text is, right? You got to communicate with them over the phone or in person. So it really is driven by the client. We try to match up our communication responses and proactivity with what the client wants.
Makes sense. Very cool. Well, something that a lot of family law firm owners should definitely consider. And those are great statistics to know also. I mean, if most cases are resolving early, you do kind of mitigate some of that risk of things, dragging on and becoming more expensive later, which is great. So let's transition and talk about ownership and leading a law practice, right? So many law firm owners struggle making that leap from technician to true business owner. When did that shift happen for you, and what made it work?
Well, Darren, I don't have like a very relatable story here, so I will kind of put that caveat right up front.
Yeah, okay.
I practiced in a small firm with 6 lawyers, and I was one of the associates and became a partner right at the end. And I left, and then I came back into law about 6 years later.
Okay.
So when I came back into law, I came back in right away as kind of on the business side. So I hired a lawyer, and we just started practicing. We wanted to scale it right away. I had come from that satellite business that I had mentioned earlier, that have started to fail. And so that's why I started the law firm, and I felt like I could scale it. So since then I've had very few clients that have been like my personal clients to have. I've done some cases in a court and all that stuff. But so I made that switch outside of law and came into law as I'm going to scale and build this firm with my partner, and away we went. So
nice. So
but I can share with you what I have seen, and I have seen that for most people, and I've seen a lot of family law firms. Okay. And really most family lawyers, greater than 50%, just they don't really want to do that. They don't want to scale it. They love practicing law. They want to be good lawyers. They want to stay technicians. So the reality is most of them never do that. They don't want to. They just simply don't want to. Those that do make that switch from being a technician working in the firm to working on the firm, that usually happens in growth somewhere around when they get about 4 or 5 lawyers on the team is when they start to really do that full time. But the mentality has to start before that, right? They got to be thinking billing process in order to bring lawyers in and introduce them to a process of how they do the law in their case. So that's what I've observed.
Yeah, interesting. You came with a mindset already to be thinking as an owner. And you're right. Not everybody wants to be an owner, needs to be an owner, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. So I think a lot of lawyers become owners accidentally. They think, I'm just going to go practice law on my own, and then they find
Mhm.
themselves running a business.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
They
that
don't usually love that either, but that's by
right?
default. That's the best option for them. It's better for them to do that because they can run their own practice their way, and
Okay.
that's why I think they do that. But it is a
Should
business.
they,
They don't think of it that way.
let's say that's not what you love. Should you merge with another practice and just be a technician?
Um, I can't answer that for individuals. I wouldn't say it's a blanket answer. They need to
Of
merge, but
course. Yeah.
they ideally, if you can find a group or a partner that is more business inclined while you're more practice inclined, that way
Hmm.
you both can play to your strengths.
Yeah.
Lawyers have a hard time doing that over time, over a long period. Ego gets in the way, and style gets in the way, and the business lawyer wants
Yeah.
to grow it, and the technician doesn't really want to grow it. They just want to practice law, and they don't want the extra stress of having to train someone. Um,
Yeah.
that was for us. That was our biggest constraint on growing it, was getting a senior lawyer to train a junior lawyer. It's just hard. It's
Mm-hmm.
incredibly hard to do that. Without
Yeah.
question, that was our biggest challenge for 10 years, was that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say you are that solo law firm owner and you're doing everything yourself. Um, what's the most important step? Like, what's the next step you need to take if you do want to scale and grow? What's the first thing?
I think you need to process out your own practice, because that's what you want to duplicate. And so make
Mm,
building process, writing down at least some of the steps on how you do it to train someone else how to do it. And it's a leadership issue too. You can't lead others unless you can lead yourself. And that means discipline in those areas of building process, I believe. And how you go about practicing, you want someone else to do it that way too. So I think that's the very first square one step that you need to take.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, did you kind of have those processes set out from the beginning? Is that where you started when you wanted to scale?
We had no processes from the beginning. Um, we just started and let our first lawyer was Dan Exner, and we just let him start practicing. And I was really concerned about the business side of it and getting clients in the door and building
Yeah,
sales process. And that's how I was thinking about it. We didn't come about that. I gave you that answer, but that answer took me quite a few years to really learn and be able to say with
sure,
credibility
sure.
and confidence. So hopefully people will take that and like, oh, I'm going to do that because I'll save years, and that's what you should do.
Yeah.
Um, so I didn't
And
start that way. No.
it doesn't have to be daunting. I think some law firm owners hearing this might think, "Oh my gosh, I've got to sit down and create these SOPs." It doesn't have to be like super involved
No,
because
absolutely not.
it'll be a work in progress, right?
Yeah. If you're a business minded lawyer, you're not going to want to do it anyway. And I hate that stuff. I hate it. I totally hate it. But you at least need to have
Right.
a rough sketch, and you can find people that'll do it for you. Go online. You can find people that'll do it
That's true.
pretty cheap. That'll write up those operating procedures you're talking about.
Definitely, definitely. So you have 27 attorneys now. How is running a firm of that size different from running a firm with, let's say, four or five attorneys?
Well, for one, it's easier. I will point out that if you're a lawyer running that size of a firm, your hair's on fire most of the time. It's hard. It's hard to make that turn.
Mm,
And so, I mean, today we've got a lot of structure. I've got a president who actually runs the firm day to day. He's my
okay.
only direct report. We have two outstanding managing partners who train and support all the lawyers. They don't practice, but maybe one or two cases, or very few cases. So, but it's taken us 11 years to build that structure and get there.
Yeah.
And I want to give a lot of props and respect to those lawyers that are practicing at the same time they're trying to train four or five other lawyers to learn how to practice appropriately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In that growth process, how have you had to evolve as a business leader? What are some of the key skills that you've had to acquire?
Yeah, boy, when we started, I fancied myself as a really good leader, and um, I thought the people side of the law firm would be the easiest for me. And it turned out I was the opposite. I struggled to get the motivations and the incentives lined up appropriately. I'm great, and I've always been really good in like inspiring and connecting with my team. And I can go in a room and I could, you know, get everyone excited and connect with them and hear them and be present. But when it came to building the right incentives that lined up with what they wanted, I was consistently and mistakenly seeing their world from my point of view. And the things that motivate me aren't the things that motivate them. And I was trying to fit them into my mold, and that
Yeah.
just did not work. So, understanding over time where I was really hitting my face against the wall was my biggest learning and growth, was growing through that. And I'm still bent the other direction. I still struggle with that. But I've got really great teammates around me that are great in those areas, that do them well and can pick up where I'm weaker.
Yeah, yeah. And I think one of the areas that we have to sort of change our thinking, so many of us in professional services who own businesses, we're used to working hard. And when we're not working 60, 70-hour weeks, we feel a certain type of way.
Mm-hmm. Feel
We
guilty.
feel guilty, yeah,
Yeah.
or lazy, right? But
Yeah.
I think this is a theory, work in progress theory. But I think at that level, you have to prioritize your health and your energy, because it's
Mm-hmm.
your energy that's going to drive the team. I mean, you can't be down in the dumps. You've
Yep.
got to get it together and get to that team meeting and rah, 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 and rally the troops.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the higher you go up, the bigger your firm gets, the fewer privilege you have. You don't
Mm,
have the luxury of coming in and being dour and grumpy and yelling at your team and being not present. You just don't have that. You lost that privilege when you accepted leadership responsibilities. And you've got to
yeah,
think others first, not yourself first. Your agenda's got to be for the team and not for individual. So it's contrarian thinking for you to succeed in a people business like we are in, right? Because you're scaling with people, and that's the hardest way to scale. You've got to
yeah,
be all about them. And the more you go up, the more you have to give up to go up. That's just the way it works.
yeah. Have you ever had a moment where, and I know you're running a fabulously successful firm, right? But have you ever had a moment where it was just things were not working and you
Mm-hmm.
felt kind of discouraged, but you had to come in and lead the team and kind of just like put on a smile and fake it?
Yeah. That the moments that stick out to me as you asked that question were when a few of our lawyers left, not all at once, but over time. So the
Mm,
first big loss was this lawyer. She was like our third lawyer we hired, and she left, and that was like a gut punch. It took me weeks to recover from that. And she went to a competitor to help them grow their fixed fee business, and that was super, super, super hard
yeah,
to work through that, because I took it so personally, you know. And she didn't mean
sure.
it personally. She saw it as an opportunity for herself, and she was a little discouraged by some of the previous business decisions I had made, where I had put her in a leadership role and pulled her out of it. That's self-inflicted. I did it, and so I can see why she felt that way. And it was just it was hard for me to work through that, quite honestly. That sticks out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What was maybe one of the other really big challenges in getting the firm to this stage? What's been one of the biggest hurdles that you've had to overcome?
Um, COVID was tough. Working through those first couple months of COVID, that really sticks out to me.
Okay, yeah,
Um, and the other ones have come when we had to build systems and processes to bring up the junior lawyers. So we had to figure out a way to motivate financially and professionally our top lawyers to train and work with our younger lawyers. And so we were in, I think it's like 2.5 years ago, we were struggling financially because we were spending so much to grow, and we didn't have the bottom line to support that. And I was feeling like, oh man, we're going to go into a season, we're going to lose a lot of money. It was at the Q4 of the year is always really tough. Coming into Q1's kind of tough. And we were coming into that, and I was freaking out, scared about it.
Yeah.
And I knew we had to make a change to our comp plan because our comp plan was old. It had been built on a certain type of assumption where we didn't have a lot of support, and we had built up a ton of support, a ton of expense, but we didn't change the top line comp plan for our lawyers. So we were still paying them as if they had very little to no support, where we had added all this expense. Okay. And I just ran through a comp plan. Like, we got to do it. So we got a month and a half to do it. We're just going to do it. And that's, for the majority of our lawyers understood it. They saw that. They didn't love it. Okay. No one loves a cut financially at all. But they knew that majority of them knew we had to, but some of them didn't. We lost one or two as a result of that. And 2 years go by, and our team does a year's worth of work, and they changed the comp plan again. They did it the right way, slowly, took everyone's input, and it went off a million times better. So that moment where I just said, okay, this isn't popular. I don't really have a lot of support from anyone, but we're doing it because financially, I think we have to. I think it was the right call. Even today, I wonder, could we have done it better? Yes, but we're coming in the year, all those things are going on in my mind. So that sticks out to me as a moment where that was tough for everyone, tough for the team, and
Right.
everyone.
That's
involved.
incredible. Yeah. Sometimes as the leader, you do have to follow your gut instinct, and the team, the people around you might think you're crazy, but you just gotta listen to that lizard brain sometimes.
Yeah. The other one was when we went from doing a bunch of different types of law to doing all family law and only fixed fee. And because we lost half we had 8 lawyers. We grew from 0 to 8 lawyers in 18 months, in our first 18 months. And we let 4 of our lawyers go, our support team go, all those 40% of our clients go, and had to refund all those clients. And so, that was like an overnight kind of pivot that we felt like we had to do. And so that was another one of those moments that we're just going to do it.
Very cool. So now, where you're at now, how are you thinking about and planning for the long-term future of your law practice as an entity to continue on, beyond you? What are your thoughts there?
Well, we see a big challenge is to crack the acquisition code. Not a lot of law firms are transacted, right? And we have the scale now, and we could do that. So we are thinking about that a lot, planning for that financially. That's something that we're going to take a run at. There's a lot of headwind on that, but we feel like we're going to give it a shot. So that's one thing. Another thing that we're doing is we're building an AI assist kind of a tool for our lawyers so they can serve more clients at about 65% of the market's unrepresented. And there's a fair amount of those that have the resources to hire a lawyer, but choose not to, or at least they need some legal support, but they're choosing not to. We feel like we can target those with a good product. So we're working on that, and that should launch in June again. We're kind of reconstituting it. So that's what I'm thinking a lot about. So that's how
I love that.
Yeah. So going in the future, that's what we're doing.
And my next question was going to be, how are you using AI? So that's perfect.
Yeah. So we use it a lot in our practice. We have every other week we have an all team meeting. Everyone gets together, and one of the segments we have in there is what's going on in AI. How are we using it within the firm? And so a lot of it's just one-off stuff right now. But a good 70% of our lawyers are using it for a lot of their work.
Very cool. Well, I'm excited to hear how these new innovations go for you in growing your practice even further, and to see what lies ahead. Jeff, I've got one last question for you before we go here. And, we have a book club, the Lawyer Millionaire Book Club, which is free and open to any law firm owners who want to join. We read one book a quarter. Right now, we're reading Shoe Dog by Phil
Oh
Knight.
yeah, I've read that. It's a great book.
Yeah, fantastic read. So, I know law firm owners are, most law firm owners are voracious readers. I'm curious, what are you reading right now?
Oh, there's this podcast called The Soft White Underbelly, and it's these really crazy stories in society where a lot of folks are really kind of on the in tough situations. And they had a guest on there, this guy named Roger Reeves, who was a drug smuggler back in the 70s, 80s, and he's had a wild life. And so he wrote a book, and it's got these crazy stories in there. So I'm like loving going through the book, and it's like just a bunch of stories after one after another. It's not written great, but the stories are so good you overlook some of that. So it's called Smuggler. So I'm reading that right now, and that's not my normal read. And I'm usually reading stuff like Shoe Dog, those sort of books. So this is kind of like an anomaly to what I normally read.
Yeah, but that's great. You need other stuff to read. You can't just you need to take time out, and let your brain, take a break from, thinking about business and growth and strategy all day long. So that's great. Love the recommendation. And we'll certainly check it out. Thanks, Jeff.
Oh, thank you, Darren.
So before we wrap up, just share with us, with our audience, how listeners can learn more about you. Where should they go?
Oh, they can certainly find me on LinkedIn. Jeff Hughes. Go there and search Lawyer Wisconsin. I guess you might find me that way. You can go to my website, jsterlinghughes.com, and that's all for family lawyers. It's kind of like a resource hub to help family lawyers. That would be another way. You can also email me directly at jhughes, Hughes, at sterlinglawyers.com, which is our website, our firm website.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Jeff.
Thank you, Darren. It's great. It's been fun being a guest.
Well, a big thank you to Jeff Hughes for sharing his journey and insights with us. Be sure to connect with him on LinkedIn, visit his website, or email him directly. Check the show notes for all the info. So here's my challenge to you. If you want to scale, start documenting how you work so you can teach others to do it too. Building a business that works without you is the true path to wealth and freedom. At the Lawyer Millionaire, we help law firm owners like you grow profitable practices, create exit-ready firms, and align business success with personal financial freedom. Learn more about us at lawyermillionaire.com, where you can download the first chapter of my book, The Lawyer Millionaire. And if you haven't yet, join our free Lawyer Millionaire book club today. It's at lawyermillionaire.com. Just click on Community at the top. Who is the Lawyer Millionaire? It's you, my friend. Own it and live it. I'm your host, Darren Wurz. Thank you for joining me. See you next time.